This shirt was released in 2018, and honestly, it was kind of a disaster. The final straw was when I encountered one of you, a viewer at Sea Otter Classic, and he was wearing this shirt. It was completely massacred. It was like smudged completely down. It was faded, and he didn't seem to care. He was happy to see me, and I would have paid more attention to him, but all I could focus on was the shirt he paid for to show his support for me. It was massacred. So what's the big deal? He got a bad print. We can like exchange it, right? Well, normally that would be nothing to be stressed about, but this was a much bigger deal than what you might imagine. So what exactly led up to this and how did it get so bad? Well, up to that point, my merch operation consisted of me and Amy sitting on the floor with shirts, stickers, and flat rate mailers. A friend had designed the Seth's Bike Hacks logo for me, and a local screen printer in Fort Lauderdale printed the shirt. So basically, I was running my entire merch operation in-house, literally in my house. And at 50,000 subscribers back in 2016, that was fine, but things were growing. And by the time I moved to Berm Creek, the place this shirt is about, I had been approached by a guy in my state who offered to handle my merch for me. He was about 4 hours away out in Raleigh, and he agreed to make jerseys and t-shirts and handle the whole operation end to end. To make a long story short, the jerseys he promised took a year to get ready. They didn't fit right, and the t-shirts took so long to iterate on, they couldn't be ready while the design was even still relevant. What's worse, I was paying for the inventory. Remember, this was before a million companies started offering print-on-demand services for creators, but I was deeply unsatisfied. It wasn't a disaster or a crisis. It just sucked because I had almost no leverage. The only leverage I did have was the option to fire him, take a loss on the inventory, and walk away. And so that's what I did. The guy wasn't evil. He wasn't trying to take advantage of me. He was just incompetent, and I was clueless. So I was done dealing with clowns. I was done dealing with people who talk a huge game and deliver nothing. And mistakenly, I wrote off small homegrown businesses. I wanted to work with someone big because in my mind, they can ship 1 million shirts. They can ship my shirts for my little YouTube channel. So far, I haven't named anyone's name, but I'm going to because this company, the next one, the one that caused the disaster, has since rebranded and restructured. So I don't feel bad telling you it's Teespring. And to be clear, everyone makes mistakes. Everyone. But it's what happens after the mistake that tells the whole story. So yes, enter Teespring. Teespring was a print-on-demand service for merchandise. At the time, you could do a pre-order and they would do all the shirts in one run. It sounded better than sitting on my floor and packing Tyvek bags, and it sounded a lot better than fronting my own money to some guy and then losing most of it. And most of it sounded perfectly feasible. This company was already selling tens of thousands of shirts per month, maybe more. Surely they could ship another 1,000 or so and get it right. So I had Christina make this design. Christina, who I wrote Goodnight Bikes with. We have remained friends for years, and this, I think, is the best shirt design ever on my channel. So I uploaded her design and ordered a sample of it. It's the one I'm wearing right now. It's been through the wash countless times, and it still looks good. It was a good shirt with a good design, and the company fulfilling it wasn't all talk. This was their business. Not only that, but I wouldn't need to worry about estimating how many of each size we'd need. We could do sweatshirts, women's cuts, whatever we wanted, and it would all be based on the pre-orders. So I announced it and ran it. And I shipped out some promos to friends and family, even buying a sweatshirt for my wife and a onesie with another design on it for my niece. It was when those landed that I knew something was very wrong. I still have every single email from this debacle. First, we got my wife's sweatshirt, and it looked nothing like mine. The art was faded and smudged. That wouldn't have worried me too much, except my niece's onesie was also a disaster, and that was a totally different design. Again, this is what the good ones looked like. I had another sweatshirt that looked like this. There were no smudges or anything. So I wrote an email to my contact at Teespring with the photos explaining my concerns. The last line read, "I can only assume that if 2 of 3 items I ordered are defective, there must be many problems with last month's sales. Some people may contact Teespring to get it fixed, but others may just expect I'm overcharging for low quality goods. How do we handle this? Now, my contact responded implying that he would track down the batch and send everyone new shirts. But by that time, the emails had started rolling in. As I expected, people were contacting me through my website. So I was apologizing to them and then forwarding them to Teespring where they could request a return or an exchange. It was a lot. And it was precisely what I was trying to avoid by having someone else handle my merch. I was going back and forth with Teespring, responding to my fans and trying to put out fires. But again, Teespring had assured me that everyone was being made whole. And that was the least they could do. Yeah, I want you to just consider this, the reality of what happened. T-shirt manufacturers, not the people who print them, the manufacturers have automatic folding machines that fold shirts up and pack them up. But print-on-demand services like Teesprings generally do it by hand. So everyone, including the employee operating the printer, was looking at these shirts, holding them up with the artwork in front of their face, folding them up and packing them into bags. Not one person noticed something was wrong or cared enough to say anything. But again, they had owned their mistake and promised to make everyone whole without them having to file complaints. The emails eventually died down and I chalked the whole experience up as unfortunate. I even continued doing business with Teespring because my links were pointing there and in my mind, I had few other options. They had handled everything. And that soon came back to haunt me. Now keep in mind, all that email stuff happened in October, and then in April of 2019, I went to Sea Otter Classic in California. It's the biggest bicycling event in the USA, and everybody shows up, especially back then. Nobody missed Sea Otter. Danny McCaskill, Fabio Wibmer, Sam Pilgrim, they're all there in the same place at the same time. And so, of course, my viewers were there in force, and one particular exchange involved a fan wearing this same Berm Creek shirt, and it was very bad. He came running up to me asking for a selfie, and I should have done a better job giving him my full undivided attention, but all I saw was the shirt he was wearing. You could barely make out the artwork, and that is what he chose to wear that day in the hopes he would encounter me. And he did, and he was stoked. He was proudly showing his support for me with a shirt he paid full retail for. Now, maybe it was wishful thinking, but I did briefly consider that maybe he just washed this shirt 300 times. But that was clearly not the case. It was smeared. He was excited and happy and we chatted, but I quickly apologized to him about the shirt and I asked him if he had another one at home that Teespring had sent him as a replacement. They didn't. He didn't get an email, he didn't get a credit, he definitely didn't get a new shirt, and I was just mortified. I was angry because months before, I had just filed that away, like, okay, this situation's over, it was all handled. And later that day, it dawned on me that I had ordered 2 shirts from presumably the same messed up batch and hadn't gotten replacements. So if they were doing this by some automated process, like going through the batch and just sending everybody the shirts, then I would have gotten 2 of them too. I realized that Teespring had not done what they said they would do, and I felt terrible for not following up. Again, this particular fan didn't seem to care enough to contact Teespring. He probably just thought it was supposed to be a faded shirt. By now, you can probably tell I placed value on ethics, but actually, I would be just as pissed if I didn't. Take, for example, a garden variety sociopath. Do you think his merch is smudged or faded? No, of course not. And he would be pissed if it was, because then people wouldn't buy it from him again. And that shirt with your artwork on it is your reputation. So I had some additional exchanges with Teespring. My contact no longer worked there. And merchandise just seemed to me to be an insurmountable challenge. I would either need to put tons of my own time into it, time I should be spending making videos, or lose money on it, or not do it. And it wasn't for another couple of years that I actually tried again in earnest. So fast forward and I'm living here on Berm Peak. I had an acquaintance, Austin, who worked for Lennox, an air conditioning manufacturer. One day he told me he was leaving his job at Lennox to start a mountain bike clothing brand. And I have a tendency to assume the best in people, and I'm often wrong, but I had already dealt with Austin. Actually, when I got that air conditioner, he set me up with the installers, and they did everything they said they would. He was professional. And I was sure that Austin was not only competent, but ethical. He was pledging to donate 2% of his sales to mountain bike trails. So I took a chance. He knew an artist and he had him design this. This is the Berm Peak coat of arms. I told him I wanted a coat of arms. I told him I wanted the Frenchie there and the bear and everything. And he came back with this. And you can see how old it is by looking at the GoPro there. Like, that's what they used to look like back then. And it sold like hotcakes. Everybody was buying this thing. I was happy. The fans were happy. Everyone was happy. And I want you to see something, what his driveway looked like during this campaign. And look at what his living room looked like. It looked like my house when I was managing my own merch, but he was doing it bigger and better. That is what no excuses looks like. That is what finding solutions looks like, rather than finding reasons you can't start a business. And so I could really identify with Austin. I was happy, my subscribers were happy, and fast forward 7 years later in 2026, and Austin and his family own a building 5 minutes from my house. They have a stockroom, a storefront, and even a full-fledged coffee shop. They have donated over $100,000 to mountain bike trails. And when I went to Crested Butte a couple of years ago, they gave me a jersey, and it was actually made by Cognitive. I had no idea. I just got this jersey in a gift bag, and I looked at it, and the Cognitive logo was on the back of it. He's making mountain bike clothing all over the country now, running a successful family business 5 minutes from here. They hire real artists to draw their designs, not image models to generate designs. And that will always be. But that single interaction with that fan has stuck with me for years. It has been the one thing I've been desperate to avoid. The fact that he showed his support for me and got total trash in return. And that brings me to today, because although I know I have found the right partner, it's still just on their website as a category buried in a menu. After 11 years as a creator, I still don't sell my merch on my own website like everyone else does, or at least that was the case yesterday. Today, I'm launching bermpeak.com. Yes, I'm gonna advertise to you now. There's a lot more than just a place for merch though. I'm actually selling my personal bicycles here. I've often mentioned how these take up space and that I can't ride them all. I also buy bikes for videos, and it would be nice to recoup that cost. And so I have that on the website. The Slingshot is on the website right now, and I'll eventually be putting 3D print files up there, free online tools and resources for home bike mechanics and tinkerers. I've finally created a place to host that stuff. So yes, right now, this Slingshot bike is up there, and even if you don't want to buy it, it'll always be up there saying sold out, so you can just look at the photos. I'm even including the extra dog bone link and the 3D printed dog bone links, almost like souvenirs. And I have pictures of those too. It's stuff that you can geek out on. Or that flying pigeon, which I was going to donate to a bicycle museum. They refused it. They were very thankful, but they had to refuse it because they just don't have the space for it. And so I'm probably gonna fix it up and sell it on the website. But that interaction with that fan with the massacred shirt remains in my memory and has influenced the new site. The orders still flow right into that stockroom in Horseshoe, North Carolina. The designs are still drawn by living, breathing human beings, some of them local. Even their photographer is a mountain biker. And the humans who pack this stuff up and ship it to you guys actually care. I could find a bigger company to run this, someone with experience managing big creators, someone who promises growth strategies and managed campaigns. It all sounds great on the surface, but do they know a good jersey? Are they contributing to trails? Do they give a crap about my audience? Do they use human artists? Do their artists know what side of the bike the cassette is on? That fan at Sea Otter didn't seem to care how faded and massacred his shirt was, because that wasn't the point for him. The people who want to support me may do it no matter what, even with an overpriced faded shirt. And I don't want that. So check out my new website if you want to buy merch, or if you just want to look at some more pictures of my Slingshot bike. As I said, there's much more to come, including tools and resources for people who like bicycles and tinkering. Some of it's an experiment, but the one thing I'm not experimenting with is offloading my reputation to someone who doesn't care. Thanks for riding with me today, and I'll see you next time.